What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that collaboration last year, I was part of a team that reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. So as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Excited to have and share with you another new friend. And I had a chance to meet this young gentleman digitally a few months ago, and he really left such a wonderful impact on my head, but also my heart. My head and my heart. I think it's a lot of times that doesn't happen too much, where we get someone that we can say they've impacted your head and your heart, not only through his leadership, his experience of being a CEO, but just being a good human being. And when a lot of people ask me, what makes a successful CEO? What makes a good, entrepreneur? One of the things I always include is being a good human being. So for me, that is why today we have John Wilson on. I'm just going to give a little background about John. He's the founder of and CEO of the CEO Global Network, an exclusive peer group organization that leads opportunities for learning and development through peer group meetings facilitated by experienced CEOs, targeted one-to-one mentoring, a customized curriculum, and focused learning events throughout the year, which I was part of one of them last week. Hopefully it'll come up in our conversation today. And just a little bit more about John. He's driven by his passion for business and his belief that it is people that form the heart and soul of any organization. An experienced entrepreneur and business leader, he has a proven track record of building nine-figure family businesses and is considered one of the world's most preeminent CEO mentors, having coached hundreds of CEOs and entrepreneurs to greater success. With 35 years experience building shareholder value and companies such as WR Grace Incorporated, Ultramar Canada Incorporated, Ultramar Incorporated, and TEC, the Executive Committee Canada, he has demonstrated his ability to build and lead successful companies in both Canada and the United States. He is also the author of the acclaimed business book, and I'm going to read it to you, but I'll also try to see, I got it, Great CEOs and How They Are Made, and is an accomplished and sought-after speaker on the topics of leading fast growth and the 7 imperatives of great CEOs. Today, John's going to be sharing on 2 different subjects with us: the top 3 things keeping CEOs up at night. I wonder if there's more than 3, but he's going to give us 3, and the top 3 imperatives for the modern leader. So let us have a warm welcome for the first time, and hopefully not the last time, to John Wilson. How are you, John?
Oh, I'm doing great, Dr. Vibe. It's just wonderful to be with you today. Thank you so much for the invitation to be with you. This is exciting.
I am excited also. It's been a beautiful ride already. And when John and I first met, well, we met digitally, he was sharing with a group of us. And when we went one-on-one, and I was blessed to get half an hour of his time, we spent 25 minutes sharing stories of common individuals that we knew. Right. And it was like, is this like the Wonder Years, this show, this on, like you're just going back in time and all this stuff, and his heart, his knowledge, his willing to give and share and wanting to see people better really stuck out to me. And his energy, his positive energy has really made a positive impact on me in a very short period of time. So John, I want to bless you for that so much.
Thank you for those very kind words, Dr. Vibe. Means a lot coming from you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we I had a little bit about your bio, but I like when we bring new friends on, can we get a bit more of your backstory, where you grew up, etc., and how did you get into this thing called CEO stuff?
Well, how much time do you have, Dr.
Well, we got some time.
Yeah, but I was, I was born in Toronto. I grew up in Hamilton, and just entrepreneur at a very early age. I had a paper route. Got up at 4:30 in the morning to get those papers out. And I guess in many ways I've been an entrepreneur all my life, just like you have, Dr. Vibe. I mean, you've done a lot of great things in your career. And
Thank you.
congratulations on the work you're doing in getting the word out there to so many people. But so I grew up, and I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you a story that uh, I would say formed me in a big way. Up to the age of 18, I was a carefree kid. I played hockey, football, baseball. I played everything. I just played, right? Even at school, I just played. I was not a good student. I got by, right? At age 8, when I was 18, my sister passed away. And I had no idea how sick she was. My parents kind of protected me from that a little bit. And I have to tell you this, Dr. Vibe, from the age 18, I changed on a dime. From that point forward, it was carpe diem for me. It was like seize the day. Every minute counts, every second counts. And I became much more serious about my life. And my sister was a student. She was an A student, and I tried to emulate her in some ways, take my studies more seriously, and and then got into business. I went through school, played some football, got a scholarship through Hamilton Cats at one time, went to the University of Buffalo. uh, Boy, you talk about, I really came up against a brick wall there, because you realize everybody out there is an all-state star, right? So the competition gets pretty tough. But then got into business, and I just love business. I just loved it. It was like, it's like a swan to water, quite frankly. When I got into business, I just loved it, and I had some real role models along the way that sort of took me under their wing. And so I went back and got my MBA at one point. I went back to Western, got my MBA. When I came out of there, I joined an oil company who nobody ever heard of, and the name of the company was Ultramar. And it was kind of a joke, Ultra who? Well, Ultramar. And I was with them for almost 20 years, and that took me to California. I lived in California for 12 years, basically, helping build Ultramar in California. And also, it eventually got sold, and I started up my own businesses in California, and then came back and started working with CEOs. Came back to Toronto because we were just too far away from family. What brings you back? Family, the people you
Yeah.
love. Like,
Yeah.
like Southern California's paradise, in terms of the weather, the everything, but it's not home. So, we came back because both my wife's and my parents were getting much older, and we wanted to be closer to them. And so we came back, and I started a journey of working with CEOs and helping CEOs, get through the toughest times of their lives, and celebrate the most successful times of their lives. And that was really the genesis of CEO Global Network. I didn't start CEO Global Network till 2008.
Right.
But I came back from California in 2001, and started working with CEOs then, and just bring them together to learn from each other, and mentoring them. And now here we are, 14 years after starting CEO Global Network, and CEO Global Network has just I am blessed with the number of people who are part of our organization and part of our community, really, including you, Dr. Vi.
Thank you.
I'm just absolutely blessed with that. So that's a brief synopsis. I had a guy ask me on the first tee once, "Hey, John, tell me about you. I don't know much about you." By the 18th hole, I got it to about the mid 90s, and we had to continue the story in another round of golf. So, anyway.
Absolutely.
But that's a thumbnail sketch, And on the family side, by the way, married my childhood sweetheart. We met in high school. We got married. We've been married 55 years.
Congratulations.
And our daughter Jen is the apple of our eye. You've met Jen, and she's a very important part of CEO Global Network as well. She's really the brains behind me. That's for sure. But so anyway, thank you for asking, Dr.
No,
Lai.
it's important because everybody has a story, and it's important that we hear our stories, because we don't know who they're going to influence and when they're going to influence them.
Yeah, well, that's
so it's really important. I have a question. What gave you the vision to start CEO Global Network?
Well, it was another very tough time in my life. Another tough time, and you know, being an entrepreneur, and there's entrepreneurs on this call, and you know, being an entrepreneur is a wonderful thing, but I got to tell you, it's a very lonely place at times, isn't it? It's a very lonely place, and there's a time in my entrepreneur life where I was between a rock and a hard place. I really didn't know how I was going to get to the next day, quite frankly, because you know, I had a company out of LA. We were building a fast growing company in the fleet fueling business, and uh, sometimes growing too fast. Well, growing fast is very difficult because you run out of cash, and so you know, I was running out of cash, and I was all alone in a hotel room in Dallas, Texas, Fairfield Inn, by the airport, and I got a phone call from my biggest supplier who basically said, "Jen, unless you send us money this afternoon, you're cut off." Well, you get cut off in the oil business, like that's just like that. You know, you're done. You're done. And I had a payroll to meet on Friday, and I got to tell you, I got on my knees. I mean, I was in a tough place. Now, I've never been in a tougher place in my whole career, and I said, if I ever get out of this, I'm gonna do everything I can to help other entrepreneurs never get here. And that was and that's and I was, thank goodness, because you know, you say, who can I call in a time like this? And I started calling, you know, and who's going to be the next to call me for money, right? And I started calling people who I thought, hey, maybe they could help, maybe they could direct me into the right place here, there. Well, somebody did. Somebody called me back. Wasn't the person I thought would. It
Mm,
was someone down the list, right? Whoa, thank you for calling me back. John, I think I can help you. And there
wow.
we went. And we ended up building a successful company. We sold the company. And I was bound and determined that I was going to carve out a big chunk of my life to really help. Uh, and it's around learning. Eh? It is around learning. I mean, I was naive. I was naive in a number of ways. And so it's about learning and getting better, and learning from other entrepreneurs, learning from other people in the good fight.
Yep.
And that was really what got me through that. And so I said, wow, what a powerful thing. Maybe we can create a community of CEOs, a community of executives who stand for each other's success, and will, you know, never allow each other to get to that hotel room in Dallas, Texas, because, you know, I mean, stress, stress kills, right? And
Absolutely.
stress kills. And so helping with that stress by having a community that, you know, are behind you and that we can learn from, and they can learn, you know, and so that's really that's the why for me. That's the why for me. And the other thing too is to celebrate successes, you know. And they talk about it being a lonely place, and it is a lonely place. I mean, if you own a business, I mean, business can be lonely, period, regardless of where you are. You don't have to be the CEO to have a lonely place in the business. Who do you talk to? Who can you trust? You know, who's got your back? Who's got your back? You know, I mean, how important is that? And and so it can be lonely. I mean, it can be very rewarding, but boy, and to go that journey alone is just daunting. And so that's the why, Dr. Vide. That's
Mm,
why we started this. I wanted to create something better than anything I'd ever seen in my life. And we take, I mean, you know me well enough now to know that we take it seriously. We really want to help people. You and I have talked about servant leadership. You know how important servant leadership is, and it's all about helping others and helping them get to where they want to go. You know, like everybody has a different vision of what success is, don't they? And you know,
yeah.
like so being non-judgmental and helping people get to where they want to go is just a it's part of what we do. But we're a learning organization at our core. But really, we're we exist because we want to help people we want to help people be successful in all dimensions of their life. Like it's not just
Yes.
about business, hey, Dr. Vibe. And you and I have talked about this, and it's about the whole person. It's about your family. It's about your personal. It's about yourself. Your spiritual well being,
Yep.
and it's about the business, right? But it's not all about the bottom line and growing the top line and all that. It's about the whole person. The best CEOs that I've ever worked with, the best. It's it's multidimensional, isn't it? It's not just
Absolutely.
can't be one
Abs-
dimensional. So that's
right.
that's that's the why, Dr. Bob, for me.
Right. Well, for people who are watching this live on the replay, I'm actually have the front page of the CEO Global Network on the screen, and you can see that what John has shared is what they're all about. So I encourage you to take a look at the website. They have some great self-assessment things right on the website that you can
You
take.
do?
So it's a very action-oriented website. So definitely, make happen. Before we go on through our conversation,
Yes,
where have you gotten who taught you, or where did you emulate servant leadership from?
that's a great question. Uh, where did I get that? I really think I got that from my mom and dad. When I think about them, I think it started there, Dr. Vibe. And I mean, just watching them, I watched them, with the death of my sister and how their love, and quite frankly, their church, the people at their church, their community that just embrace them, help them, and unconditional love, eh? Unconditional love. I think that's close to servant leadership. I really do. And it's because it starts with a sincere, authentic caring about other people. Like I never heard my mom or my dad say an unkind word about anybody. Anybody.
Wow.
And 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 beyond that, um, they they were servant leaders in their own right, right? And help people, whether they be neighbors or people at their church or people at work. Uh, and then and then um, so that's at the base. And then as I went through my career, and you meet a lot of people on the way through, don't you, Doctor Vibe? You meet all kinds. But
Absolutely.
the ones that really stood out, were people that stood for your success, and who believed in you. And I think that's where servant leadership starts, don't you? In terms of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they really believe in you and they want to help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for leaders, all levels of leaders. And really, when you take a look at it, everybody is a leader. I mean,
Yep.
everybody is a leader because look at the I mean, just look at the ripple effect that all of us have, right? And so I think, and I had some really good mentors along the way who were in my corner unconditionally to help me get to where to help me succeed, right? And so that's where I think the servant leadership comes from.
Wonderful. Well, let's get into some of our conversation topics. As you can tell, John and I could go on forever here. And
Yeah.
before we went live, I said, John, I'm not a one and done person. So if you can find time and space in your journey of serving others, we'd love to have you come out periodically and just share different thoughts, some lessons learned for our family, because we love what you have to share and offer. So just putting it out there as we go on in the conversation.
Well, I thank you so much for that, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the invitation to be here with you, Doctor Vibe, because I mean, I really enjoy being with you and learning from you,
Well,
and
humbled.
learning from
Hum-
you, and
Humbled.
I mean that. I mean that.
Thank you. So let's talk about one of our two conversation topics today, and you wanted to talk about the top three things keeping CEOs up at night. And it's very interesting because when I make proposals to companies, I ask first things first, I ask for like a quick meeting. And one of the first questions I have for them is, what's keeping you up at night? And a lot of times people, they look at me and go, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What kind of question is that? So when you brought that to me and wanting to speak about with CEOs, okay, I'm jumping to say, when you ask that to CEOs, what sort of response do you get from them?
Well, that's what we're that's exactly what I just want to review in a sense.
Yeah.
And you get a number of different answers, but uh, quite often it's around people. People. The complexity in business is the people dimension of it. The numbers are easy. The numbers really are easy. I mean, they're what they are. But it's the people dimension. And so, what's keeping a lot of the CEOs and a lot of leaders beyond? I mean, if you're a leader of people in a company today, one of the major challenges, and we know this from what we read in the paper, and I'm going to touch on the top three, but if we asked everybody on this call, what are your top three, there might be some overlap, but there would be some others too. But these are just the ones that I see, right? And there is a ferocious war for talent today. That's keeping people up at night because, you know, that's the strength of any company are the people in the business and their engagement level in the business and their abilities. And so you can't, what got you here won't get you there. And you can't get there without having talented people around you. Like it's just impossible. So a lot of, and I mean, and I talk to CEOs every day, as you know, Dr. Vibe, and I know that people are being hired away. Like everybody is every headhunter in the country is calling your high performing people, right? And the people on your team. So, you know, what are you going to do as the CEO to make sure that when people get that call, they say, no, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. I'm not interested. Okay. Boom. At what point do you get interested? Well, and that's where the relationship comes in. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of like the CEO for today. What qualities do they need? We'll maybe cover that a little bit later. But the thing keeping people up at night is, who am I going to lose? How do I find the right person to fill that slot that has been open for the last year because the player left? And it's one of the biggest challenges for any leader in business is finding, attracting, and then keeping people, the right people, the performers. So that's number one, Dr. Vibe, and I'm sure you've seen that too, eh?
Yeah,
In
absolutely.
eh?
Absolutely. Let me ask, has that number one been consistent for a long period of time, or is it because, especially post pandemic, it's become front of line? Like you hear about in the United States the Great Resignation,
Yeah.
and it's funny. And you and I have that sports analogy background. There's so many people out there that treat themselves like free agents. Whoever gives me the best offer, I'm gone.
I'm gone. Yeah, no, that's right. That's a good analogy. And they just go to the highest bidder and they move, 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 move. People are moving a lot faster. A lot faster. It's hard to keep, and that's where the relationship comes in. And sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? But it assumes that things are right here. And if things get out of whack with the relationship, or John's not giving me the time he used to give me. He seems to be too busy now. Seems to be worried about something, or isn't in the office as much as he used to be, or doesn't call me as much as he used to be. boy, these are things that can really upset upset relationships, right? And so, I back to your question now. It was always in the top 5, let's say,
Right.
before COVID.
Right.
Today it has absolutely been exponential. And I think if you ask most CEOs today, most leaders today, that's certainly keeping them up at night, and it's I would say it's on the top.
Right.
And it's always been close to the top. It's always been a very important thing. It's one of the 7 imperatives of great CEOs is, being able to attract that talent. How do you attract that talent? Well, you attract that talent by being an A player yourself and really being a high performer, but also being highly emotionally intelligent, which, we maybe talk about that a little bit later, but
Yeah.
that's one of those soft skills, right? The soft skills today are so important that any CEO, any leader that doesn't focus on the soft skills, uh, it won't be successful.
It's interesting, and I don't know where to land this. And during last Wednesday, I was going to share it with Marilyn. But one of the things I found very interesting at a younger age about leadership, uh, I forget many years ago when I had hair, I used to work for a company called Telus Mobility,
Yeah.
and why I draw a blank. The gentleman who founded the company ClearNet,
Yes.
and then he became CEO of Telus, and I forget. And now he's the head of oh my God, Bill BCE. But very tall gentleman. And one of the things, and this is going back, every quarter he would have a town hall with the employees.
How good is that?
and this is years ago. And still
Yeah.
not a lot of companies do it now. A lot of times, a lot of CEOs don't do it unless there's a crisis. But
Yes, absolutely.
every quarter, part of the company, they'd be invited 1 hour, any question you wanted to ask, he would answer it.
I know exactly who you're speaking of. I can see him there. The picture of him is when
and he's about 6'5".
I know he's
And
he's a huge guy. Yeah, I know.
yes, and I can't, I got to research it because it's gonna bug me. But I said,
Look it
wow.
up.
I'm going, this guy is doing what?
He gets it.
I just went, there's just no way. Like, what are you doing now? You're setting yourself up for to get bashed, but no,
Yeah.
he was,
No. No.
So I can't find his name yet, but I'll find it before the end, because he was also the person that's going back who founded ClearNet.
He founded ClearNet. I didn't know he founded ClearNet.
Yes, he founded ClearNet.
The
And
picture.
then he eventually they partnered up with TELUS, and
Yeah.
it's history. But I just wanted to throw that there about,
The
there
importance of
wasn't high
communication.
turnover. He engaged, and another thing they did, John, is every month they would have employee lunches. So they would take a select group of employees and have like maybe 10, and one of the executive would have a pizza lunch with them.
How important is that? I mean, because that's all about communications, isn't it? It's all about communications, and that's something that was so important back then, and it's even more important today to be doing those things, isn't it? Right? As we get into this very stressful time, and as we're coming out of COVID, it's just so important, because that's how you develop the relationships. I mean, you feel about him. You feel a warmth about him, and you feel close to him because he took the time to do that. We do what we value. We do what we value. And he obviously valued people because he carved time out of his busy schedule. He could have been with a customer over here. He could have been out, over here with doing something else, but he valued people, and that's good for him. That's one reason he'd be so successful. Eh?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
yeah, that's wonderful.
well, if you want, you can move on to your number 2. As I said, folks, John and I could go on. We go off as a tangent. We do eventually get back to the main.
Oh, we'll get back. We'll get back.
Yes,
but absolutely. But that's critically important. And the whole people dimension. A business is all about the people. And so that's critical. The other thing, of course, that is concerning for everybody today, and certainly people running businesses, whether they're entrepreneurs. I'm sure there's entrepreneurs on this call who running their
Yep.
own businesses, and you're looking forward. The ability to look around the corner, to just see what's coming, and you gotta be concerned with where is the economy going with all the stuff that's going on in the world. There's so many moving parts, aren't there? You talk when we got the war in the Ukraine, we've got things going on with storms like we've never seen before that hit Florida, and billions of dollars going into all kinds of things. As an entrepreneur, as someone leading a company, what's the impact here? There are macroeconomic things going on that you got to figure out how to have a successful company within those, and you don't want to get blindsided. So one of the things that is keeping CEOs, keeping leaders up at night is sort of that uncertainty about where is it going. What is 2023 going to look like? How are you going to plan for 2023, 24? Well, what about long-term planning? When you've got all these other events going on that are very impactful on companies. And I mean, the other thing for a lot of companies, and everybody on the call knows this because it's talked about all the time, but it's the supply chain. It's the supply disruption. All you got to do is go into your supermarket and see what watch the prices go, and know that we're really being impacted. There's a lot of people being impacted in their pocket by inflation. Look at what's going on with interest rates. Well, I mean, anybody leading a company today, that's got to be something that is really top of mind for them. Whether it's interest rates, whether it's inflation in general, whether it's the supply chain disruptions, with all kinds of ships sitting out in the harbor of Long Beach or whatever. I mean, they're all impacting us in the pocketbook, right? And then you take a look at what it's doing to housing prices, and what about young couples that want to get into the housing market? What about that? And that's why does that keep CEOs up at night? Well, I mean, it's the world in which you're operating a business, and these are the people who are your employees in your organization who are struggling with these things, right? And most CEOs that I know, and I've met hundreds, worked very closely with hundreds, they care about the people. They care about the people. If you ask entrepreneurs why they want to grow their business, I've never heard somebody say, I haven't, and I've been doing this for a long time, Dr. Vibe, as you know now. And I've never heard somebody say, well, I want to grow my business so I make more money. I haven't heard it. What I hear is, I want to grow my business because I'd like to be able to employ more people so that they can have a better life.
Yeah.
I'm serious when I say that, in terms of entrepreneurs I've worked with very closely, people running other people's businesses. The driver isn't the money for them. The driver is they want to develop a successful company so that families can have a better life. And so that's why it's keeping them up at night, because a lot of families are struggling today. And companies you can get blindsided. I mean, I got blindsided in Dallas, right? And when I was blindsided, I didn't see that. I should have seen it. I didn't see that. And so the other thing that I just want to mention before you may want to shift gears, but it's technology. Technology. The CEO of today cannot delegate technology. You can't say, well, I got an IT person over here and
Wow.
they'll handle it. You gotta understand the fundamentals and the basics, and in your industry. You can't just say because technology, there are people out there who are trying to put everybody's business, make them obsolete because they're going to do it a better way. Well,
Right.
if you're in the widget business, you better figure out how to do it a better way before someone else does. And the exponential change that people are dealing with today, leading companies, to stay ahead of the curve on the technology side in their industry, or maybe from outside their industry, right? I mean, let's just think about that, right?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of good examples about that. That's another thing that's up at the top of the list is that whole thing around
It's
technology and being on top of your game on
yep.
that side of the business. And one way you do that is you surround yourself with really smart people. You can't be the expert on it all, but you got to understand, sort of the big things that are going on in technology that will impact your business. I mean, that's part about being a smart, strategic thinker, right? Is like what's coming. So what's coming, and taking a look at that outside environment to see how that could. I think that's a huge part of a CEO's job. I mean, that's where you got to work on the business, not in the business. That's why you need a good
Yes.
team. That's why you need a good team so that you can spend time doing the CEO job, right?
Sure.
Which is
So
strategic.
so a few things. I found the person we couldn't think their name. George Cope. George
George
Cope.
Cope, good for you. I couldn't bring the
George
name either.
Cope.
Yeah,
George Cope. Yeah, George Cope, about 6'5", and like I said, never. And I've during my career, I've never seen anyone still do that. Bring together not in a non-crisis environment. Let me emphasize that in a
non-crisis.
non-crisis environment to do that. And the funny thing is, John, if he couldn't answer the question, he'd get that person's name and he would follow up directly with them.
That's wonderful. That's a tremendous lesson. I mean, yeah, it's what you do, not what you say, right? And he was doing
Yeah,
and
way ahead of his time.
yeah, because that was a couple of decades ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like way ahead of his time. And I'm just
Ahead of his
going,
time.
well, and here's another great example of his leadership. When he left TELUS to go to Bell, 3/4 of the executive staff went with him.
Really? Yeah, I
And
didn't know that.
I while we were having this conversation, I looked at the Bell company structure. One of the gentlemen that are still one of the top executives of Bell is one of the people that he founded ClearNet with. Now, I don't think George is with the company anymore, but that gentleman, one of his co-founders of ClearNet, is still. I just going, wow, because when that happened, we're going, oh my gosh, like all of these people left, and we said, wow,
Yeah, that's
that's the
something.
power of CEO-dom.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's really interesting. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
George
so
Cope, yeah,
but
I've met
so
him. I've had the privilege of meeting him in person. And
yes,
but I mean, he wouldn't know me if he bumped into me, but he happened to be at an event, and I met. I shook his hand, and he was being given an award, right, Lifetime Achievement Award, for
wow,
his leadership. And but then I saw him. On TV when the Raptors won
yes,
won the championship, right?
yes.
And I saw George do this, and George, one of the tallest guys I've ever met, right? And
Exactly, exactly.
yeah,
But
but he,
so absolutely just a leader ahead of his time,
it's
taking
wonderful.
taking a company, and a lot of people are not based in the Toronto area, that was founded at basically the bottom of an office building in Pickering, Ontario, to see him then get to a national cell phone network, to then going to Bell, to then being the head of BCE, and that's an interesting thing you mentioned with the Raptors, him, BCE, and Rogers signing an agreement together for rights.
Yes, and that's something.
So I'm going there. He's got some special gifts.
Yeah. No, and absolutely. No, he's a highly, highly respected leader. You talk about great CEOs. He would be he'd be at top of he'd be in the top 10, wouldn't he? And
Yes, in
you
Canada.
remember about him is how he
That's what I remembered about him.
how
Like
he treated
holding those town halls. I just going,
yeah.
it was just amazing. Well,
Yeah.
time is fleeting here, but so we'll get on to our next
It's fleeting.
conversation.
Yeah.
So our second part of our multifaceted conversation today is talking about the top three imperatives for the modern leader.
Yeah. Top three imperatives. And some things stay the same. I mean, there are some timeless qualities that leaders need. But in this day and age, what's the CEO look like today in terms of what qualities do they have to have that might need to be sharper tuned than the CEO of the '90s or the CEO of the pre-COVID CEO, if you will, right?
True.
And for me, and you've heard me talk about this before, uh, emotional intelligence, say. Emotional intelligence. What do you mean by that, John? Like, what do you mean? I mean, people talk about emotional intelligence, uh, 5 times more important than IQ and technical skills for leaders. Certainly for the modern CEO. Look at George. I mean, George was emotionally intelligent back then, right? I mean, so it's a very popular term today. There have been emotionally intelligent CEOs and leaders for hundreds of years, right? They
Sure.
didn't call it that. Then, it was call it different things. But uh, I think in this day and age, with all the multi-generational, and what are there, 5 generations, Dr. Vibe, that are involved with with business today. I mean, you could walk
Sure.
through an office and see 5 different generations, right? And So I think emotional intelligence and self-awareness is really important for leaders today. I think it's more important for leaders today than before COVID, and there's a couple in particular, and
Please share.
and the big one is empathy. I mean, there are 15 leadership or emotional intelligence skills, and somebody can Google them and say, oh yeah, here they are. But one of them is empathy. Most leaders, this is a sweeping generalization, Dr. Vibe, but most leaders, the higher they go in an organization, the lower the empathy. Why is that?
Please
Well, for
tell.
one, for one reason, unless you do what George did, you can get further away from the people. You can get further away to where you're quite isolated. And who you're meeting are sort of the 6 people who report to you, right? And you're not meeting. So you can, you're looking at an organization chart and you see there's 4 boxes there, and we're going to eliminate that layer. They've never met the people. These are people. These are people with families. So where I'm going with it is I really think the successful leader today is a leader who puts people first and who is very empathetic. Empathy. The good thing about emotional intelligence is you can get better at it at any age. Like I'm working at getting better at emotional intelligence. I've got, I work at it and I'm working at it because it's really important, right? And I've had a woman as my emotional intelligence coach for 20 years, right? I'm,
Wow.
I'm a work in progress, right?
Absolutely. We
I'm a
all
work
are.
in progress. Yeah, we're all a work in progress. But the good news is that if you're motivated, nothing happens unless you're motivated. It's like anything in life, eh? Nothing happens unless you're motivated. But if you're motivated to become more emotionally intelligent, which for any leader today is so critical, so critical. Yeah, I mean, people's IQ is not going to go up, but once we're adults, but our emotional intelligence, our EQ can go up if we want it to. And I'm a big believer in the aggregation of marginal gains, right? Where you just keep getting better, just keep getting better at the margin. I mean, and one way we can do that is, hey, I'm going to embrace this emotional intelligence piece, and I'm going to get better. Well, if for most leaders, out of those 15 EQ skills, if they just worked on being a little more empathetic with people. What does that mean? Well, listen more to people, like eyeball to eyeball. Listen to them. Give them quality time. Give them one-on-one time on a regular basis, right? Like, and listen, learn, be in their corner. Don't be judgmental. Uh, I think just turning the volume up on empathy for every leader, a modern leader, is absolutely essential. And the other thing is self-awareness. Just being more self-aware. Every one of us has an emotional wake. When we come into a room, is it positive,
Mm,
negative, neutral? Right? Everybody has an emotional wake. Leaders, does the CEO come in 5 minutes late and leave 5 minutes early and seem preoccupied through the meeting and not really listening, or are they there? Are they there before everybody else gets there? And when everybody comes in, do they welcome them? It's great to see you, Dr. Vibe. You know, welcome to the meeting. We're going to get started in 10 minutes or whatever, right? I mean, it's because the CEO will determine how other people act throughout the organization too, right? So
yeah.
what they
Can I politely interrupt you there? I'm going to shine some light on you in an example of that. So last Wednesday, John invited myself and other leaders to I don't like to say present, I call it a sharing session because Marilyn
great
Gish
study.
shared,
100%.
and from her book, The Extraordinary Power of Humility. And folks, buy the book. If you want to get better at your leadership, buy the book. But one of the things that John did at the beginning is he set the tone. He welcomed everybody. He gave the agenda. He even told you what time we were going for lunch. He told you what time we were coming back from lunch. He told us what time we're going to be finished. And we finished ahead of time. But he set people up for his success. I want to bless you with that. And I shared that with a number of people saying that we were just along for the ride. We didn't have to worry about going off road. We were
Yeah.
on road and on course. And I said, wow, what a nice, refreshing moment instead of coming to a meeting and going, okay, what's going on? So I want to
Well, thank
thank
you
you.
for that. Thank you for that, Dr. Vibe. I appreciate
It's the little things that make a difference. Actually, one of the members of the family, Divine Right, says agreed on empathy comments. It's more needed than ever and lacking in certain levels of jobs and people in general.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much for that feedback, Divine. Appreciate that. For
Yeah,
sure.
so it's great.
It is so critical. And so we're talking about the modern CEO, right? The
Right.
post-COVID CEO. And if you look at the best and the brightest and the people that have impressed you the most, during these times, and even during COVID, it was the CEO that reached out virtually to call someone who was working out of a condo, downtown, and
Yeah.
how are things going? Are you, how are you finding being at being there? And we're going to be getting back to the office, but it's those little things that are just so critical. The other thing that I think, so empathy for sure, and empathy, when what does that mean? For me, what it means is, it and the definition is understanding. Emotional intelligence is understanding our own emotions and managing them. You can't just say, well, I have a low stress tolerance and that's just the way I am, or I'm very assertive and that's me. No, you're very assertive, and what are you going to do about it? What are you going to manage in that regard, right? And so it's really understanding others, putting yourself in their position, and really seeing things from their point of view and understanding it. And then it's also about spending time together. There's no substitute for anybody on the call, Dr. Vibe, who has people reporting to them. The number one thing they value is time with you. They want quality time, one-on-one with you to talk about the most important thing they need to talk about. And that's where servant leadership comes in. Is it how can I
Right.
help you? How can I help you get to where get to where you want to go? You want to get that project done on time. How can I help you? That's servant leadership. How can I
Hmm.
help you? It's the inverted triangle in there, or pyramid, I guess. Yeah,
Sure.
I think that's
Sure.
really important. The other thing that so it's listening, it's spending time, and it's really really turning up the volume on appreciating where other people are coming from. The other thing that's really important for CEOs today, leaders today, is to just never stop learning. Now you can say, well, yeah, no, I'm open to learning. Everybody's open to learning. Yeah, but not everybody works hard at it. And people, Dr. Vibe, you're like this too. I mean, you're thirsty for knowledge, and you're learning all the time. And the leader of today needs to be on top of their game, needs to be continually learning. And it's not an easy thing. So where do you go for that learning? What do you do? How do you do it? And it's and I'm not talking about you can go to university, you can do a lot of things, but there are so many opportunities to
Yeah.
learn. Whether it be TED talks, or I mean,
Yeah.
just look.
YouTube as a whole
YouTube is
encyclopedia in
all great.
itself.
100%. It's a university in itself. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
Yes.
and that's one of the wonderful things about the internet, isn't it, Dr. Vibe? Just the
Yeah.
opportunities that we have to learn. I mean, if we want to hear the head of Google talk about leadership, we can go hear him. It's there. You want to
Yeah.
talk to you want to hear from anybody on a particular topic, just tune in, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's a real opportunity.
One of my mentors, well, I discussed with you before we came live, something he taught me a long time ago is, yes, a lot of people have a to-do list, but do you have a to-learn list?
Yeah, do you have a to learn list? Absolutely. A to learn list. And that's where feedback is important, isn't it? Getting feedback from people who care about you to tell you the truth. We all need somebody in our lives who's going to say, John, you'd be a lot more effective if you're a little bit more flexible, right? If you could, bob and weave and go with the flow a little bit more, right? I'm a very structured guy. Out of the 15 skills, out of the 15 emotional intelligence skills, one of them is flexibility, right? That's one of the
Right.
things you measure. And that's my last one. That's my lowest one is flexibility.
E-
Because I'm, and my daughter Jen, will check me on it. She'll say, "Dad, maybe you want to go with the flow a little bit here. Go with the flow a little bit." And I think we need people who care for us enough, who will tell us the truth. And and again, the higher in an organization you go, or if you're the owner of the business, you got to find ways of getting that truth. You really do. Like, where are you going to hear that? And you'll hear it from people who really care about you, who
Yeah.
really care about you. But that's where the whole trust thing comes in, it doesn't it?
Yep.
That's where trust is so important. That I can tell you this because I'm coming from the right place, and someone can give me feedback. And boy, they're bringing this up because they care about me.
Yes.
They care about me. One of the
Yeah.
things that I can do, Dr. Vibe, is you talk about work-life balance. There's another thing for the modern CEO. Like, do not burn out. There's
True.
no return from burnout. There has never been a more stressful time to run a business than today. In my opinion, no, well, that's a generalization. I'm sure there were times during, if we go way back, but I'm just thinking in terms of modern times that, in let's say the time I've been in business, stress has never been higher than today. The challenge has never been higher than today because the rate of change is exponential.
Yes.
Change, right? And there are some common denominators. One of the common denominators is the way you value people throughout, the way you value people. And also, and my goodness gracious, I ask every CEO when they're coming in to CEO Global Network 3 questions. One question.
Write these down, folks. Ask them of yourself. You're getting some knowledge bombs right here. Go for it.
Knowledge bombs. 3 questions. Number 1 is, if you could have one decision back that you made in the last year, which one is it?
Wow.
Boy, that's a point to ponder, isn't it? That's a question to ponder. If you could have one decision back that you made in the last year, which one is it? And here's what I hear quite often, because I ask every CEO that. I wouldn't have gone on that business trip. I would have stayed home and been at my daughter's graduation. And they tell me that
Wow.
with tears in their eyes, okay? Tears in their eyes. That's the one you'd want back, right? It's not I wouldn't have bought that company, or I wouldn't have expanded into Europe, or I wouldn't have, because at the end of the day, those relationships are absolutely the most important relationships, aren't they? Aren't they, Dr. Bob?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because time never lost a fight.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So work-life balance is so important. And for the modern CEO, the modern leader, and I think through COVID, we learned some of that, because we had some opportunities, didn't we? We had some opportunities.
Yes.
More
Reflection.
Time for reflection. Absolutely. By the way, you interested in the other 2 questions I asked?
Yeah, I'm not going to let you away without getting you can't just drop that one and run away from us. You got to give us the other 2.
So for every leader on the call, right, the second question is, what are the 2 biggest strategic decisions you need to make in the next 6 to 9 months? Let's say between now and when the flowers come up again in the spring.
Yeah.
What are the 2 biggest decisions you need to make? Well, that gets you thinking too, eh?
Yep.
That gets you thinking. I gotta make this decision, that decision. And then the third question is, what's the number 1 thing you need to get better at as the leader of your company, or of your division, or of your function? You could be the VP finance. What's the number 1 thing you need to get better at as a leader to achieve your vision for your business and yourself? And those are insights into what people are wrestling with, eh? What people are wrestling with.
Wow.
The other thing that leaders and entrepreneurs and people running other people's businesses need to give some thought to is, what's the highest and best use of your time? That's a tough one, eh? And I'll ask the CEO that, what's the highest and best use of your time? And they'll say, that's a really good question, right? I have to give that some thought.
Yes.
But it's worth giving some thought to, isn't it? The highest and best.
Absolutely. No, each one of them on their own is a reflection piece, because probably most of the time when you've asked CEOs that, there's at least 2 or 3 of them that they've never been asked that question before.
They've never been asked that question before, yeah. And it's very interesting in terms of it's insight into the person, eh? Because most CEOs, when you ask them that question, most leaders, when you ask the question, the first one, if you could have one back, which one is it? The thing I hear most often is, do you only want one? I mean, I can give you 10. Right? I can give you 10. Right? Well, no, I only want the one. What is the one? Right? I don't want 10. I want one. That's even harder, right?
Wow.
But every now and then, I run into someone who'll say, I really can't think of one.
What does that tell you about that answer?
Well, it means you got to drill down a bit deeper.
Sure.
You got to push. You got to follow up that. And just ask a couple of questions about it. And I think sometimes when people say, the thing that it tells me, and the reason that question is part of my interview, if you will, when someone is considering getting involved with CEO Global Network, for example, it's self-awareness.
Absolutely.
It's lack thereof, right?
Yeah.
It's lack of reflection and knowing self. Because I mean, there's nobody can be a CEO of a company, and it also shows you that uh, I'm not going to open up to you. Like
Yeah.
I know that I know what the answer is, but I'm not telling anybody that answer. Right? That's for me to know, and you'll never know it. And that you know, so it's an indicator for me because people that get involved with learning from other CEOs, peer groups, learning in groups, and that type of thing. Uh, they usually have more questions than answers. These are people that have questions, like I'm not the best CEO in the world and I want to keep getting better. I'm not the best leader. I want to keep getting better. And I want to learn from others. I've got more questions. I do not have all the answers, right? And I think the best CEOs are CEOs who are curious,
Yes.
who are always asking questions, always wanting to get better, and are with people that can help them do that. Right. So that's
That's a
that's.
beautiful way to end our hopefully first of a few epic conversations.
Are we ending this? Are we ending this time now?
Well,
Are we, are we
we're
at the hour?
teasing. We're teasing. We're teasing. This is a tease, but um, John, always lots of valued things to think about. And the self, when you mentioned it earlier on about self-actualization, I think that's a running theme for our CEOs today.
Right. Right.
That self, and saying, you know that, hey, maybe something's right, and asking for help. And that's where an organization like CE Global Network comes in and provides it. Because I did have a chat with some of the people at the event last weekend.
Yeah.
Those sessions get deep.
Oh, so they do.
And I mean deep in a good way.
Right.
And again, it's not just all about business.
No, it's
And
about
actually, I had a great conversation with Scott Ray, and I went, wow.
yes. How good is that? Yeah, Scott Ray, tremendous person.
Went fantastic. So uh before we let you go for our live conversation day, a few things. I'm putting it back up on the screen. I'm just giving people look of the website. It's coming up here.
Yeah.
CE Global Network. The website, just put in CE Global Network on whatever search engine you're looking on, and this is what you'll get. You'll get a chance to look at the website. If you have any questions, there's even an assessment online that you can do. As John, and one of John's favorite things, as I listen to, is how good is that?
How
Right?
good is
How
that?
good is
How
how good is that?
good
So
is
if you want to find out more information, it's all there. Any final words you'd like to share with our family today, John?
Well, I just want to share how much it's been a real pleasure being with you, Dr. Vibe. I think, as I said earlier, I think the work that you're doing is just phenomenal. You're really touching a lot of people, and in a very positive way, helping people get better and have a better journey. And the other thing I just want to say is, how good is it that our paths crossed? You
Oh
know,
yeah,
you just never know, do you? And I am just so thankful that our paths crossed,
I
and
am too.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today, Dr. Vibe, and I value your friendship. I really do.
Thank you. Well, I'm not only thankful, I'm grateful. Divine Right goes, this was amazing, even for small business owners like myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Divine. Thank you.
So absolutely fantastic. And one other thing I'm going to do to share with people as I can get it up on the screen here. If you want to get a copy of John's book, it's available on Amazon. It's going to come up here. Great CEOs and How They Are Made. The 7 Imperatives. I have a copy myself. Actually, it's autographed. Thank you very much. Because I wouldn't take it without it being autographed. So definitely check this book out. And I don't think John would feel bad if I don't also promote the great book by Marilyn Gist, The
Oh, absolutely.
Extraordinary Power of Leader Humility, Thriving Organizations, Great Results. Another highly recommended book. These are like my two my left and right
Yeah.
brain right now. These are the left and right brain that's going on in my mind right now. So again, John, thank you for all your organization has done, are doing, and will be doing. And personally and professionally, remember to give yourself grace, and also don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
100%. Thank you, Dr. Vibe.
Pleasure, and we hope you can come back.
Oh, I look forward to that. I look
All
forward
right.
to
Thank you so much. Absolutely. So there we go, family. What an incredible conversation. And I always like getting evaluated experience. There is nothing like evaluated experience. And there are individuals in the world like John who make things work through them, not stay in them. It's a big difference, you know. And again, that servant leadership. He is willing to serve. And in the brief time I've known John, as I say this to a few people that have had impact, wonderful impact in my life, there's the word success, and the word success has 3 S's in it. And for me, those S's are sacrifice, selflessness, and service. So may there be more individuals in the world like John Wilson. That's what I'm saying. So as we close up our conversation today, if you'd like to get in contact with me, my website, the drvibeshow.com, email address dr@the drvibeshow.com, YouTube and Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter @drvibeshow, and then Instagram, The Dr. Vibe Show. If you want to promote your business on the show, please contact me at my email address, dr@the drvibeshow.com. So as always, I end off my conversations like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And as we say, walk good. Thank you for watching live on the replay. It's appreciated. And follow us on whatever platform you're watching us on for more epic conversations. Be well.